that William came up with last week after we recorded our first episode of these movies.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, welcome to the Bomb Squad, where we talk about underappreciated and overrated movies. I'm Andrew Hara, writer director. I'm here with my co-hosts Joshua Whitney Epp and William Murdoch, our composer. And this month we're covering banned movies that were banned in one way or another. Last week we covered the Poughkeepsie tapes, which was not really banned, but we found that out as we were doing it. This week we're
Yeah.
doing
We found
something
it out live on air.
yeah. This week we're talking about a movie that was kind of banned again. What we realize is that a lot of movies aren't banned; they're just kind of like thrown away or put on the shelf or whatever.
Right.
But we'll figure it out as we talk about this week's movies, 1981's Possession. And let's have William Murdoch give us a rundown of what this movie's about. And William, do not spoil the obvious thing that we'll
What part does that take place in the movie?
It takes place kind of halfway through.
Yeah, the big
Okay.
the big twist.
The big reveal.
Okay.
Just set the scene.
I'll set the scene. Okay,
Emotional.
so this husband who works for the government comes home, and he and his wife are having problems. And then his wife leaves to go live with this guy named Heinrich. And it's about the pain that Sam Neill goes through, longing for his wife to get back, and the struggle if he loves her or not, and why he's so obsessed with her. But things go crazy.
Yes, that sounds like a very non-bannable movie. And obviously, based on our William, there's something big that happens in it. But you'll find out when you join us back here on the Bomb Squad after these commercial breaks. Thank you so much for joining us on the Bomb Squad. Please give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to support our channel, other than that, the best way to do it right now is to watch our movies. We have the boxing documentary Humble Spirits. We have the Mexploitation thriller Borderland about missing cartel money. Those movies are both on Tubi. Also on Tubi and Screambox, you can watch the zombie drama, The Last Ones, and of course, The Empty Space, a cosmic horror about grief and loneliness. We hope you enjoy those movies. Tell us what you think if you do watch them. And of course, you can always follow my other YouTube page, which is my shorts page, to see some short films, or just join us here. Thank you so much again, and please keep supporting the channel. Welcome back, guys. So yes, we're talking about 1981's Possession. Let's get through some of the fun facts. It's directed by Andrzej.
No way you're gonna get this right.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Andrzej Zulansky.
So Polish.
A Polish director. It was written by him and Frederick Tutin. Thank you, Frederick, for an easy name. It is starring Isabella Injani in one of the most iconic horror roles of all time, and Sam Neill, and a bunch of German people that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
And so, yes, this movie was and was not banned. So one of the things is this movie did come out. It was pretty controversial at the time. It did end up getting banned in Europe or in the UK. It was immediately kind of added to the Video Nasties, which, if you don't know, Video Nasties were like a group of films that the UK just banned just based on content. Like, no, this movie's too much. Like Evil Dead, the first Evil Dead was actually a Video Nasty up until like 2014, something very late. This one,
yeah, oh my god.
I think this one was banned up until about like the late 90s. It was released in America, but it was very heavily edited. As William was saying, this movie's about a divorce at the core of it. The U.S. edit cut of this movie, and I'll try to find a clip. I was looking for it earlier, but it's also edited in like this very pop culture way, where at one point Sam Neill stops, and then his face turns blue, and then it cuts to an edit, and it's like, that's not this movie, guys. Like, this movie.
So there's a U.S. edit. There's like multiple edits out there.
That's so weird.
And in the U.S. edit, they also took out any reference to them getting divorced. Which, if you've seen this movie, it was, well, this movie's 2 hours long. The U.S. version that they released in 1981, 81 minutes. They cut out.
Dude, what?
They cut out a good 40 minutes of this film. So obviously it was a huge bomb in the US. People were saying it didn't
Yeah,
make any sense, which I don't see how it could have,
I'm sure it
considering they
didn't.
took
Yeah.
everything out. And
It's
it wasn't
bizarre.
and then it grossed $1 million in the US. It's like, hey guys, what the hell are you watching?
I
Um,
know.
Why divorce? Just
Yeah, why'd they take
Protestantism?
that
I
out?
don't understand. I
no, I
understand
think
why some things in the last 20 minutes would not be shown, but
Right.
you know,
they turned it. They wanted it to be more of a creature-based horror. So they also took out any of the psychological horror aspects, which again is a lot of the
Right.
movie and the main
Yeah.
theme of Marriage Counselor. This version was ridiculed in the press, and they called it a cheap ripoff of the Jaleo films, which is funny because it is kind of one. And then, back in the U.S. or back in the U.K., it was not released until 2000, so it was banned in the UK for about 19 years, which is crazy time. And then
That
eventually
is
the movie
crazy.
started to kind of trickle out on Tumblr. If anyone remembers Tumblr, there's a very famous scene of her
very
in the
Tumblr
subway
movie.
where
Yeah.
she's having a breakdown, which we'll get to. But that was a huge where that's the first place I heard of it, and then I would try to find this film. It was impossible. It didn't get released in the U.S. until a couple of years ago. In 2014 is when it kind of first got started to get released on the Blu-ray. Then for like a
Mm,
couple of years, it would just get Blu-ray releases. That's how I just bought it one year because I was like, I need to watch this movie. And
yeah.
now it's on like Shutter. It's on a couple of other things. You can rent it now. We do suggest you do just because support films like this. There's not really a reason. Well, we'll talk about if we think it was bannable at the end, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a weird movie where it was banned, kind of. Even the non-banned version was cut so much that it might as well have been banned. I bet you the director
Right. Right.
probably wished it had been banned so that no one saw that terrible cut. But
Yeah, that sucks.
yeah, so it's a kind of crazy history of film. But now that we've gotten through all that, what did you guys? I This is personally one of my favorite films, especially of European horror, which says a lot because I love giallo films. But
Yeah.
William, what did you? Is this the first time you've seen this movie, both of you?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about this movie.
Nice.
And so whenever I first like read like the first like description on like Wikipedia, I was like, I don't know, I was like not really that interested. I was like, okay, this is gonna be like all right, but like whatever. Like we just watched the Poughkeepsie tapes, and so I was like kind of expecting something else, like something like really gross and weird. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is probably banned for other reasons. Let's see.
Yeah.
But then like even like but even before it gets to the crazy gross twist in the middle, like this movie is intense as hell.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and it's so
Yeah.
good, and like the cinematography is like it's like an art house horror.
Yeah.
And dude, I was with it from minute one.
And,
Like I like this movie so much. It was great.
and I will
It's
say,
like an iconic movie for sure.
I will say, even with, we want you obviously to watch our review, but I would suggest if all you know about is that picture of
Her
the
in the
main
subway.
character in the
Yeah.
subway or her
Yeah.
smiling at the screen, which is pretty popular on Twitter. Go check it out before you watch this review because it is. I think it's best that you don't know what's going into what you're getting
Yes.
into. It just makes
Yeah.
it so much weirder.
Well, there
Yeah.
is. It does set your expectations. I will say too. Yeah, within the first 10 minutes, I was so relieved because I was like, "Oh, it's not like a 4chan movie like the Poughkeepsie tapes. It's like this
Yeah.
is like a real
Oh,
movie with a story, not just
right.
nonsense."
Right.
But the very first thing you see if you're watching with subtitles as the music kicks in is the description is ominous synthwave beat, and that kind of like defines the whole movie
Yeah.
because it's
Totally.
just this like building. But it also does because we've kind of said like like creature feature and stuff. The credits, one of the first things you see too is special effects for the creature, so it lets you know early on like
Oh
there's
yeah.
going to be a turn. Although
Yeah.
I thought like just like as it's getting into it with this put upon man baby Sam Neill, he's so young in this.
I know. His teeth are regular people teeth.
Just this like destroyed marriage where like they're either silently like fuming at each other or having a screaming argument over like dishes like
Yeah.
was so good. And so like if you've ever seen like you ever like seen a couple fighting and you're like, oh, I gotta get out of this room, it's like
Yeah.
very
Right.
it like
Right.
feels very like authentic and real, like it's like a really
It
good
does, yeah.
movie even before
Yeah.
all the crazy stuff happens, you know
And
what I
that
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things about it is that it does feel very real. Although I think I'm going to disagree with you guys based on what you said so far, because so Sam Neill comes home and he's a spy and he's just come off of um, an espionage like kind of mission, and he comes
So
back to his
it's
wife.
Which is a
Berlin.
psychotic job
I
choice.
know,
We should say it is Berlin, so it's definitely the Cold War like
right?
paranoid
Right,
thing.
right,
Yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah.
And this
So
was
It's just so funny.
West Berlin and a French, a West Berlin and a French double feature. It's like, oh my god, no wonder it's so fucking wacky. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, so he comes home and his wife tells him that she wants to get a divorce. She has, and then eventually he kind of gets it out of her that she's kind of started a relationship with someone else, and that they're going to maybe continue their relationship, but all she knows is that she's going to divorce her husband. And this is like Sam Neill's character. Sam Neill's essentially playing, to me, Andrew Tate. Like every time he talks to
yeah,
his wife, there's so much like not even hatred. It's like he doesn't see her as a human being. Like every move
right.
he makes, especially at the beginning, is just to hurt her. Like
Yeah,
he wants custody of the kid almost immediately, but he literally tells her like it's only because then she'll be forced to see him more. And
yeah,
he doesn't even like at no point in this movie is he shown as being like a good father. Like he'll leave his kid with a teacher. He'll like
yeah.
go away. You know?
I mean, he's like nice to the kid, but like he's distracted as
Yeah,
hell.
it is, and it is funny how much of this kind of feels like that whole that kind of, well, I don't, it's not modern, but that kind of misogynistic take on how, oh yeah, if you're the man, you're the breadwinner, and the woman should just be
Right.
like doing everything you say, and she should be grateful that you're gone for 3 months and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I think again, thanks to Sam Neill, is amazing writing. I mean, amazing acting, and also Isabella, who plays Anna. Um, she does a great job of kind of this like it's not even to the point, and I'm sure if you've ever been in a relationship, there's always this point where you've pushed a relationship too far, and now you don't even hate the other person. You're just like done with it. Like
Yeah.
there's not
yeah,
even
Totally.
feelings anymore. It's just like, oh no, I just don't have anything for you at this point. Like I don't even hate you, I just want you out of my life. And so she does a good job of kind of portraying this role, and so they're kind of going back and forth. um and I think like also the costume design in this movie is good. It's like she's always dressed a little bit like almost too modest in a very like weird way, but then like the first scene they have is like a sex scene, so it's like this
Yeah.
weird juxtaposition of like
yeah.
she
It's like
leaves,
the
she's very modest.
trad the trad idea. It's
Yeah,
I don't know, yeah, it is interesting because it's like it's not like it's like them like laying in bed like after sex or whatever, but it's also even in that scene like she's like, well, how's work going? He's like, well, do you care? He's just like, not really. He's like, yeah, I don't care about you that
Yeah.
way either. Like he acknowledges he's like, oh, I don't actually
yeah,
like this at all or care about it,
Yeah.
but losing it will like drive me to a rage,
yeah.
you
Like
know?
Right. And I think that's like really like his main thing is kind of like I mean the movie's called Possession, so it's about possession in like a bunch of like different ways. And so like this is kind of like the beginning of the movie because like even because like she's like with this other guy and like she straight up tells him like I need to be with this guy. He makes me happy. He's like a better lover. Like he is everything you are not, just like everything that I need.
Yeah, she's like,
And
if
like
I
these are
met
the things that
him,
like
yeah, oh, go ahead.
no, what are you gonna say?
Like she's like, if I had met him before you, like, and not had a child with
Yeah.
you, my life would have been so much better. Which is like an insanely
Right.
like
Right.
brutal thing to say, but you know,
and
probably
I
And she's
true.
being very honest. Like
Yeah,
you have to kind of give it up. Like she's not just like staying here to stay. Like she's
I think
putting her feelings out there.
also like it is this weird kind of like you have this kind of feeling where Sam Neill might have been like the James Bond type, and then this is what happens like when this guy who doesn't see people as other things, like he
Right.
only sees people as things, and like once you have to be in a marriage, like you can't just hook up in a marriage, you know, like you have to
Right.
take care of your
Right.
kids, and groceries become important. And so
Yeah.
like then it becomes this, for him at least, it becomes this thing where he like, yeah, like William was saying, he wants to win this divorce, you know, he wants to win the
Yeah.
girl. He even tells her when he's trying to get out that she's seen someone else, he's like, oh, and is he better than me in bed? Like, you have to tell me, you have to. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, why? Like, what does that matter?
Right.
Yeah, it's like just not knowing is like so much better,
And
dude.
she
Like
and
you can't not know if
she,
like you're in that position.
she does tell him, and he has, because he meets her in this like restaurant, and his crash out is so crazy that the cooks are running to like subdue
yeah.
him. It's so good.
He's like throwing
He's
every
like
chair
throwing every chair, like hitting everything, and the cooks are like struggling to get it to the
Right.
ground.
Yeah.
It's
And
On
so,
that note, I will say that this movie is so close to being like so over the top that it's like unwatchable, but it somehow stays in like
it's like on the
this realm of
line.
sanity. Yeah, even though it's just nuts.
Well,
It's completely wacko.
can we talk about how insane when he finally, because he's like, I'm gonna go meet this guy Heinrich.
yeah.
Heinrich plays it
Yeah.
so
Oh, I love
crazy.
Heinrich.
Dude,
He-
Heinrich is amazing.
He is like throwing himself around the room with every line delivered.
He goes like this whenever
Yeah.
he talks. He's like, "And what did you want? And did you
Yeah.
like her?" And it's like,
And do you like me?
and then
We can be polite.
at one point, Samuel like asks him either like, is he bigger than him, or does she like to be with him in the bed?
Yeah.
Or 20 minutes if she likes to have sex with him, and he's like, of course she does. And then they get in a fight, and if you're like, hey, was this movie banned for having too many karate fights? Well, guess what?
He does. He like
He's so good.
He dominates Sam Neill, but he literally is like going for a kick, and he pauses and does a quick leg stretch before finishing the kick. It's like he's like a ballet dancer just trashing this secret agent.
Right.
It is
Yeah,
crazy.
it's bloody. It's a bloody kick.
Is a spy. Like, he should have fighting.
Right. Which was something else that I wanted to kind of point out, because you said James Bond earlier, and that is what's kind of interesting about this movie, is that it does play everything like pretty straight. Like I know we were just saying it's like very over the top and it's like very weird, but like it does kind of like subvert what would it actually be like to be James Bond having to go home. Like that's like very interesting, and we'll get more into this like later on, like with the twist. But I feel like this movie does like it takes the drama to like genre levels, and it takes the genre stuff to kind of like normal levels, which I think is why this movie works as well as it does.
Yeah. So then, Samuel gets dejected, and so he goes to pick up his son. And this is our first hint that something might be happening a little bit more, because his teacher looks exactly like his wife, but she has green eyes and blonde hair, and of course played by the same actress. And so,
and he acknowledges this too. He's like, "Are you trying to trick me?" She's like, "What? No, like she's just another person, you know."
Yeah.
And so then once they get home, they have him and his wife have another fight, and it's interesting too how Isabella plays it, because she has no emotions like the whole time, and then this is where they get in a fight, and they kind of cut each other with a knife to show how intense the fights are. And then he tells her, like, as they're kind of nearing the fight, they're like staring at each other, and Sam Neill's like, "Oh, do it again," and she smiles, and it's like the first time we've seen emotion out of her. And that crazy Twitter meme one. But it's an interesting like aspect. Like, we're starting, like, the way things are unraveling is to a point at this movie where like you really do not know where it's going. You know, like you know that they're fighting, but you don't. And now that they've both kind of shown that they are okay with violence, it's like, okay, well, how far is this gonna get? You know?
Yeah, because he beats her pretty hard.
Yeah,
like for a while.
And he's not a good guy. Like I don't know if you stress that enough, but he sucks, you know. He's
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then she like runs out of the building, and then like it's kind of like their final what you think is going to be their final separation, which that kind of happens a few times throughout the movie. Yeah. But like when she like runs down the street, she has like there's like just strings of blood, like just like whenever there's blood in this movie, like there is blood in this movie, and it's like gross blood. Like it's like always just like so gooey, but it's always like on people, so it doesn't seem. It feels real, but also gross. You know what I mean?
I feel like they always mix the blood with something else. Like a lot of times it has like a white goo to it, but even like when she has it coming out of her mouth, it like looks like it's too shiny. Like it doesn't look 100% right. But since it's coming out of her mouth, it's like, where else could it be? What else could it be? You know, and it like makes it even unsettling. Like, what is happening to these people? You know,
right? Because she's not really that bothered by the fact that he just like slapped her around for a long time. Like he literally slaps her. He doesn't even hit her. He like, I guess that's hitting, but he doesn't punch her. He like just slaps her like 100 times,
Yeah.
and she just like it's like the first time you see them like feel anything towards each other, which I think is what you were saying
Yeah.
a
And
second ago. It's like weird.
there's this preconceived conception a lot of people have that like slapping is less than punching, but
Yeah,
I've seen people get slapped where they get knocked out. Like you can slap someone very
right.
hard, and
There's
Yeah.
those competitions.
yeah, and I feel like,
Yeah,
and I mean, hopefully they didn't really do it, but like the way they're playing it, it does look like it does not look like, oh, he did it to silence her. It looks like he's trying to hurt her as much as possible, which of
yeah,
course like adds to the whole thing. And again, this whole time Sam Neill is still trying to get her back. Like he's
yeah.
trying
He
so
still
hard.
has hope.
Yeah, he's never not like he's still like I can turn this around because
Yeah,
after this
Right.
they also cause a car crash, which is pretty wild. Like just thinking about
Oh yeah,
how that would be like because they had to do all it's like today
yeah.
you see some crappy CGI, but you're like, oh, they actually had to crash a car just for this big like romantic like fight,
right.
The amount
Yeah,
of extra, like
destruction.
extracurriculum violence in this movie, where it's like, oh yeah, and that guy got shot, but he didn't really have anything to do with this. Like
yeah, yeah.
it's off the chain. But yeah, so then
They
Sam,
get away with a lot in this movie.
and I will say before we continue,
Oh, we
watch
get
the
in there.
movie. Watch the movie first.
Yes, yeah,
But yes,
Yeah, because here's where it takes a hard turn, and
he,
I assume this is where Andrew starts to love the movie the
oh, I like this
most.
movie from the beginning. But
Um, you
uh,
know,
he hires a private investigator to follow her, and he finds out that she's been keeping a house in a very bad part of town, and it's the shittiest
yeah. It's the worst
ghetto.
part of any town in Europe.
I mean, it's Berlin, so there's probably a lot of shanty like
Right,
buildings,
right.
It looked, yeah, it's so
This is
funny.
like where David Fincher was born.
I know. So he follows her up. And he's like, oh, I don't know if her lover's there, but I'll go find out. And so he goes into the room, and he goes into the bedroom, and he's hearing something, and that's when he opens the bedroom, and on the bed there's like a tentacle monster just kind of like
Yeah.
sitting there, and she like,
Oh
oh,
wait, no,
okay,
no. The first
oh
time it's in the bathroom. Yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah,
And she's like, I don't want you to be here. You can't be in
yeah,
here. And like she's obviously lost it. Like at this point, like she's like, if she
fully
was emotionless
insane.
before, now she's like
Yeah,
just scared
and
and wide-eyed.
before he goes into the bathroom, because she's like, oh, do you want some wine? And he's like, no, I don't want wine. And she goes, oh, I
Yeah, I've got
dropped it, and
kids.
she very intentionally drops the bottle, and she's
Yeah,
like, oops. And then he goes into the bathroom, and he sees the monster, and then he turns around, and she stabs him in the throat with the broken
yeah.
bottle, and there's so much blood.
He just flies all over the wall. It was
Yeah,
great. It's a great stab.
yeah,
Like this movie has effects and stunts. Like this
I
movie
know.
is kind of like action packed, but it's like this art house horror
right.
like
Yeah.
German thing.
And so then, and so she's been feeding the the body parts. Like she cuts up the body parts and she feeds them to the monster, and he's kind of growing bigger as the movie progresses. But now we
Yeah.
know that there's a big monster in here, who she's also, well, we'll get to it. We'll get to what she's doing.
Yeah.
That's later.
And then you know what? It's kind of funny because right after that, because Sam Neill's like trying to reach the guy and he can't, and so then someone else goes to Sam Neill, and it's the guy's gay lover, because the guy was gay, and
Yeah.
so he's like, I need to find this guy, and Sam Neill, this was the last place he was going. Did he get back to you? And Sam Neill's like, no, and so he's like, I'm gonna go there and find him. And so he goes there and he tries to find him, but of course he finds the monster, and he finds his lover's dead body as the monster's eating it.
Yeah. And there's like parts in the fridge that she didn't use.
Yeah, that she's gonna use it for later.
Yeah,
Those
she's
are-
like
Oh,
he's
right,
he's
right,
not
right.
finished
He
yet.
doesn't just eat it
something
all at
like
once.
that.
Yeah, he's not a
Yeah,
binge eater.
he's not greedy.
Yeah.
He gets full. He has a little tummy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And so she kills him, and she steals his gun, and then she shoots him. She beats him over, like she beats him, and then she takes his gun and then she shoots him a whole bunch of times. And it's
Yeah, and it was like that was like the most like hardcore scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Like as far as like someone dying, like the way he like dies by like just like slowly falling down the wall, and there's like this gross monster with like fluid everywhere. Like this is the first time you see like the red blood and like the white creaminess
Right.
mixed in, I think, right? And like that whole scene was just like so gross, like grosser than anything that like the Poughkeepsie tapes had, even because it just like the way that they ratchet up the tension and like how everything is going, like I don't know. That was a standout scene for me as far as like how intense the movie got.
No, that was a really good scene. And I think like
Yeah.
because again, the fact that that Anna plays it or Isabella plays Anna so reserved for the whole first part of the movie. And apparently this is
Yeah.
part well we'll get to in a second. But the way she plays it so reserved, so when she starts to lose it, it hits you so much harder. Kind of the same way that Sam Neill does the
Yeah.
same thing, but with anger, where he's very stoic the whole time, like, you can't take my son. I love him. And then as soon as she like tries to leave, he's like throwing tables and beating the hell out of her. And it's
Right.
all
Right.
very like
Right.
explosive. Everyone is very explosive in
Yeah.
this movie. And
Yeah.
so then Anna goes back to Mark and she tells him about how one time she was in the subway when she was pregnant and she had a miscarriage, and that's kind of what started this whole thing because and this is a famous subway scene where she's
For
like
throwing
trash
herself around the subway.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It goes on for a long time, but it
Yeah,
stays compelling.
and apparently this is a staple of the director. He likes for people to kind of have this fluidity in how they move, which again works really well for Heinrich and Anna, and it works well that Sam
Yeah.
Neill's kind of counteracting that because he's very stiff, the whole movie.
Totally.
And so
Yeah.
she's like,
Button down shirt, slacks, just
yeah, and he's very like
yeah.
again. Everyone else is dressed kind of like weird, but he's dressed very normal. He's very set apart
Yeah.
from everyone else.
Yeah.
And so while she's in the subway, like having this freak out, she like falls and then like blood starts pouring out of her mouth, but also like white stuff that we see on the monster.
Yeah.
And that's like again, it's just like that's what kind of turned her into kind of like started the path of being with
What's going on?
monsters, yeah.
Yeah. And like even the way she was moving, like you were talking about the fluidity, like she does like a lot of like hair whipping stuff, and like she was so in it that like it almost felt like I couldn't tell if her head was moving backwards or forwards. Like it kind of looked like she was kind of like moving and like they were like rewinding the video or something. Like it was her performance in that scene was like that. Like that's what I was saying earlier too. Like that could have been the most garbage scene in like a lesser movie, but like she is so just like on fire in that scene that like I couldn't like take my eyes off of it.
Yeah.
It was great.
And kudos to both the director and her because like
Yeah.
I don't know, it would be very hard. You really have to trust the actor. The actor has to really trust you, and you both have to kind of go for it, And
Totally.
dealing with obviously actors have some idea of what they're going to look like on screen, and it's like you have to let that completely go because it's the only way it's going to work. And she sells it 100%. And and so then like that kind of like shocks him. But then we cut to Heinrich, and he's going to visiting Anna at her apartment, and he finds the creature, of course. And then she stabs him, and then he like runs out. He manages to escape, and he's running out. And then
she kind of like lets him go. Like it kind of seems like because she kind of like the way she looks at him, sort of, because like she doesn't chase after him, and she kind of like it felt more hesitant than when she killed the first two guys.
Oh, but before we get there, I will say that Mark tells her where the apartment is. And the conversation, because like Mark comes or he meets the teacher goes
right,
and that's when he's like
he hooks up.
Before that he's like, oh, can you watch my kid in the bath? I'm gonna go talk to
talk to my friend in the hallway. It's gonna be normal, like, don't worry.
Sure. And then when he's talking to Heinrich's in the stairway, and he's like holding both sides. He's like, oh man, I can't do this. And he's like, where can she be?
I know. He's so good. Like fully tweaked out.
Go watch that movie, yeah.
And Sam Neill's just like, okay, dude, I think you might be weird.
He tells her
you're better than me.
He's like
he matches his energy in like the most Sam Neill way. I don't know how to explain it.
And it's interesting because this is the first time where we've seen, because like in the restaurant, like we said, he's kind of going off on Anna, and like he doesn't care who sees him. But this is the first time where we see him care about what other people think, because he's obviously trying to be quiet so that the teacher doesn't hear him be a crazy asshole like him.
Yeah, that's true.
But he's still like, Heinrich keeps trying to walk in the door, and it's like, buddy, we're not friends.
Yeah, dude. What? My kid's teacher is bathing him right now. Yeah. You can't see this.
And then it's also funny because then once he sends him to the apartment, he hooks up with the teacher, and they're like lying there naked. And the teacher goes like, we don't have to hook up if you don't want to. I'd be like, you're sending a lot of mixed signals here. Like, what are we
see? Well,
right. I don't know.
To me, I almost took it. because obviously, like, kind of like, metaphor, like the teacher is the replacement wife. She's like the version of his wife he wants, who's just
exactly
a nice homemaker who does whatever he says. But
demure when she's naked, yeah.
right.
Right. She wears white. She wears like long, like flowy dresses.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, she's not like, she's just like kind of simple and like nice. But when Heinrich's trying to come in, I almost took it as like, oh no, I don't want you to see that there's like another version of her because you took the last one. I almost took it kind of that way where he's like,
that's interesting.
I'm
Totally.
guarding what I think is going to be like my new, but it's up for interpretation.
No, for sure, I vibe with that.
And it's also funny that so this was a German production, and so the normal, quote unquote, normal version of Anna is brown hair to brown eyes, and the perfect version, at least for Sam Neill, is blue eyes and blonde hair, which was also someone else's dream of a perfect human, who was also from Germany. And I wonder if that had a little bit to do with it, of putting them in this kind of look. Because I think it's also, I mean, also Helen, who's the teacher, and Anna are so, like, the eye color really sets them apart, and the blonde hair, of course. And I think he also really wanted the audience to know, like, this is a completely different person. It's not the same person,
right?
But yeah,
and it does kind of change it a little bit. Like, they are still like the same person, but you do kind of do a double take yourself when you first see her.
Yeah,
like the way they make her eyes so green is like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like she did a really good job of like being the same but different. Like that was a cool effect. Yeah.
And so back to Heinrich, he escapes the hotel after Anna stabs him, and then he calls his best friend Mark.
It's like, why didn't you call anyone else, buddy, to come?
Yeah, why don't you call your mom? She's worried sick. Also, Heinrich mom lives with him, which is also weird, but we won't get into that yet.
Well, it's a very Heinrich thing, I feel.
And it tracks.
I wanted Mark to be like, stop talking to me. We're not friends.
Right.
I don't like you. But then, so Mark, he says he'll meet him. But first he goes to the apartment. He discovers everything that's in there. Like, Anna's not trying to hide it even like a little bit.
Right. And the monster does something to people when they go into the apartment. Like, whenever Heinrich goes in, like, he like can't breathe and he can't see. And the same thing happens to Mark whenever he goes in. Like,
it has
to jump out of the window.
It's like psychic properties to
and
it.
And I feel like it is. It does seem to be like, I'm trying not to compare it to too many things, but there's that book, the book Watchmen, not the movie. There's like this, there's a squid monster too, and it's also psychic.
Yeah.
And it's just giving off these psychic waves, and I kind of feel like this movie's doing the same thing. Where right now, because when Sam Neill goes to talk to it, it does look a lot different. It's now kind of gaining the body of a human. It has very clear eyes.
Right.
And it's
and it kind of smiles a little bit or something.
Yeah, and it's like drooping. It's gross, but
yeah,
it does kind of look like the more, like, when it's the big blob monster, it just is kind of sending out these psychic things that it has no control of, which is maybe how Anna caught it in the subway tunnel. And as it's kind of getting more evolved, so to speak, it has more control over it. So, like, when Heinrich goes, he just kind of feels gross. He feels ill. He doesn't know what to do. But when when Sam Neill goes in, he immediately feels almost attacked and he has to jump out the window. Which, again, maybe that's not the thing, but that's what I did see, that natural progression, and it gets to a point which we'll get to.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I like that. That's pretty good.
It increases in like kind of manifestation. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Or in control almost. Then Mark is like, "Oh, I'll meet you at a bar," and Heinrich is still wearing his bleeding clothes.
Right. Like,
go home, Heinrich. What are you doing?
Right. Go take a shower.
Hell, why don't you call a doctor?
Yeah.
And then Heinrich is like, "Oh man, that was weird, huh?" And Mark's like, "Maybe."
Yeah.
And then again, I feel like one of the main characteristics of Mark is that it doesn't really matter what's going on. He will only focus on the parts that's affecting him personally and no other parts.
Yeah, because he like sees this as an opportunity. He's like, I can get Heinrich out of the way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
this is gonna work out for me despite what he's telling me and what's happening.
Yeah.
You know?
And they're discussing this next to a pile of literal wet garbage too, which is just in the bar, next to the bathroom. Like it's just like a bowl full of trash.
Yeah, which I don't know. German bars, maybe that's true.
Yeah, you know. And there's like a shoe in there, and there's also a feather in there.
Yeah.
Which Sam Neill takes.
Right. So then he kills Heinrich and he stages it. It's also funny because he puts his head in the bathroom as if it's an accidental murder, but Heinrich is still bleeding from the side of his.
He's been stabbed and he now has head trauma. And then he takes Heinrich. Heinrich has like these little drugs that are supposed to be like magic sex drugs.
Yeah.
And somehow Sam Neill finds them on his person, and like, even though he's obviously been brutalized to death, he still sprinkles the drugs all over.
You know, cops aren't gonna look too closely. They're
you're
like,
the worst spy ever, Sam. You're like, you're supposed to be the best.
Right, this man's a wild person. He fell weird.
I know. Like,
but my favorite Heinrich line though is whenever Sam Neill takes like a feather from the garbage and like shoves it down his throat and then gags and is like, "Oh, Heinrich, I feel sick." And Heinrich goes, "I'm the one who's hurting right now."
I love Heinrich. He needs his own. He needs to be the Twitter celebrity.
I know, dude. I would watch a whole series on Heinrich.
I know. I just want to see him order a meal at Chipotle just to see how he does it.
Yeah, how much he seduces the wait staff.
Give me double beans. But yeah, so then Mark steals Heinrich's motorcycle.
Yeah.
Like, because then he goes back to her apartment and he blows it up with a bomb. Like,
yeah, he's been releasing the gas.
Yeah.
In the oven.
And then he like sets a fuse. I mean, it does make sense because at the beginning of this movie, you're like, why is he a spy? But it does kind of make sense in this part. So he blows up her apartment.
Right.
He steals Heinrich's motorcycle. And then he's trying to get home. And is this where he meets the guys who? Oh no, this isn't where he meets his former colleagues, right? Because he's supposed to be quitting.
No,
right.
That's a bit
not
later.
Yet,
yeah,
and
yeah. No, because he's like,
right
no, he does. Yeah,
he sees a friend when she's in the elevator.
No, yeah. First he goes because he's like, let me check up on Heinrich's story, and then he finds the refrigerator full of like body parts. He's like, oh, I should burn this down. You know, this will somehow solve my problems.
Right.
And then he goes home, and that's where her friend, who does not like him, her like catty best friend, who's like, she's divorcing you, dude, like earlier in the movie, is like fleeing from. I
couldn't tell what their deal was. I couldn't tell if she liked him or not.
Yeah,
because she like hugs him very intimately.
I thought it was passive aggressive. I thought it was one of those like, I'm so glad my friend's divorcing you. You're like a terrible husband. I thought it was that.
That's the one that he keeps calling at the beginning to find, because she's giving him information.
Yeah, because he's even like, hey, I know you don't like me, or we've never gotten along.
Yeah.
And you can definitely, because in those phone calls, you can tell that she's getting tired of him. Like, at first, she's like, I don't want to tell you, but here it is. And by the end of it, she's like, here it is. I don't care. Leave me alone.
Right.
And so then he finds her body. He takes her upstairs, and Anna's there. And then they have sex. And then he's going to cover up her death.
Yeah.
I love how, like, you just quickly, though, because it's like Mark is pretty rational for most of this.
Yeah.
But then he's like, oh, my wife has killed her best friend, but she wants to hook up, so this is fine. This is actually going to go okay for me. So I do feel the idea is like he's being affected by the psychosis at this point, too.
Right.
You know?
Well, we'll get to it in a second. But so then he's also like, oh, yeah, I'll cover up her death. That won't be too hard. And it's like, man, Mark.
Yeah.
You're really good.
Yeah, he's a spy. Yeah. Get your put your skills.
Yeah. And so then he gets a call. And then he walks into the room and he discovers Anna. And now we find out what she's been doing with the creature, which is hooking up with him.
Yeah, and he's left the kid with the teacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think this is...
She's a really cool lady.
Yeah, she's a nice person.
She's really nice.
He's and I really like this scene because she's like underneath the monster and she's like, not yet, and she keeps telling Mark, and she's like looking straight at him.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Yeah, she keeps on saying almost.
Almost, yes. And I think we'll get to what I think that means as the end of the film. But that's just a cool scene because like now we know that Anna's like completely in it. Like she's
Yeah.
in love with that thing. Well, she likes it.
Yeah.
And so then Heinrich's mom calls Mark and she's like asking about her son. Heinrich is just
Yeah.
he's infecting all of this movie. He might be
Right.
His presence looms.
He's the real main character.
And then he goes to meet her and then she commits suicide. It's not like it's not like she takes too many pills and she dies. And so it's like it's an interesting, I don't know. There's so much death in this film, but they all feel pretty impactful, even though like even this one, it just kind of feels like she has nothing to, it's like everyone's trying to find something to keep going, you know, like in how dark the world is. And once they don't find it, they're just like, all right, that's enough. Then
I'm done.
They finish themselves.
And I think like what the mom is like, Heinrich's mom is saying too, is kind of like a good kind of like wrap up of the movie, like because she's like talking about how, because like Heinrich also has a wife and kid in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is so random yet so Heinrich as well to have a wife in Cincinnati. But she's like, Heinrich's mom was like, I liked her because she loved my son, and I liked your wife because she liked Heinrich too. I just had to like them because they loved Heinrich so much. And I think it's terrible to steal someone's wife and to hurt a child and to kill, but I still love my son and I'm always going to be on his side, like no matter what. And that's kind of like one of like the more like kind of like surface level themes of the movie, is like that's kind of what Sam Neill is kind of going through. Like his wife is like he's an asshole, but she's also like cheating on him. And like at every second he'll take her back because he loves her so much. And like in a way, like Anna still kind of like loves him too. It's kind of like why do we love people even if like they're hurting us like so much? Like what is it like about this like connection that people have that like keeps bringing you back to somebody, even if it might not be good for you? It's like I feel like her saying that is kind of like a big theme of like what kind of we keeps on seeing with all the characters.
And I think that and I think there's another thing too about, you know, everyone, Heinrich and the mom kind of touches on this. The Heinrich and Mark, of course, they're all like they're trying to turn short-term satisfaction into long-term satisfaction. It's like even Heinrich leaving his kid with the teacher, it's like he's only met her once, he's only hooked up with her once. Why is he like giving her so much responsibility? But it's that thing where it's like, and you kind of see it in shades between Anna and Mark when you hear about their wedding or their marriage. It kind of feels like it was fun, but they tried to make it into a realer thing, and it just did not work. And I feel like everyone in this movie is doing that, where they're trying to like hold on to something that's not really there. And I will say,
fill the void, essentially.
Well, and I think it just like it really adds an extra level of context to the film or subtext. And then like my favorite part is the next part where Mark is just kind of wandering around, and then his old spy buddies come. They're like, Mark, you should come back to work, man.
What else is a turmoil?
He's like, have you
only you can save us.
Have you killed any people and covered up their murders in the last 2 days? Not me too.
We know you're good at that.
Yeah, you're the best. And so he's like, oh, I don't really want to rejoin them or to do this job anymore. And so then he like runs away from him. He returns to the apartment, and now it's surrounded by police. And so he does like a distraction by trying to rob someone's car.
Yeah, he hijacks the car, but he's like, I'm gonna need you to drive like full speed backwards into this. At gunpoint, and then it kind of works.
He jumps out of the car before it crashes, and then he starts shooting at the car.
He's just spraying bullets. Like
they shoot him 3 times in the back.
I know, and it's also like, Mark, that's not what a distraction is. A distraction shouldn't be you killing people.
It's chaos.
But I almost like, I love, like, it's almost this like kind of subtle, it's kind of in the Mouth of Madness way, where it's like Sam Neill trying to rationally react to the increasingly crazy things happening until finally he's like hit a point where he's like, I don't care about anything. I'm just gonna like push ahead no matter what and do anything to anyone.
Also, is Sam Neill the cosmic horror titan? Because he has 3 under his belt.
Dude.
Yeah.
We've
covered all of them too.
And in
Event Horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the second one?
Event Horizon, the one with Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh yeah, totally.
Which
for
is,
sure.
I mean, that couldn't be more cosmic of a horror.
Right. Yeah. Cosmos and cosmic.
But it's interesting. Like, oh, I guess he just really likes these type of movies.
Right. Right.
Which is great because he's a good actor. So then he flees the scene. He gets back to the building. He's running, and then that's when we see the creature. He's fully formed, and now he just looks like Mark. He has bigger pupils,
Yeah.
but he's clearly Mark, which leads us to believe that Anna or Helen is also
Yeah.
on. This has already happened before.
Right.
And
Right.
then Anna comes up behind Mark, and her eyes are matching his eyes, which is very interesting because she's not the alien or whatever.
I take it he like can trance
Yeah.
people. That's kind of what I took from
And
it.
see, and that's
you
what
know?
I
Yeah.
then he kind of, or well, he'll do it in a little bit, but yeah, I do think that he has his mind control is a lot better. And so then he's gonna shoot the doppelganger, but then the cops have gotten to the
Just
building.
kill both Mark and Anna in a
Yeah.
hail of
They shoot them
bullets.
with so many bullets.
The most
Like-
realistic cops ever, because they just run in and start shooting at every single.
Yeah, they're just like,
Right.
And so
And it's like very echoey in this.
But the
like,
creature
scary.
slips away. Like he does not get hit.
Well, and
Yeah,
then,
the bullets do not affect him at all.
yeah, and there's a really cool scene where he's standing there and they're shooting at him, and there's just like bullet holes behind him on the wall, and he's just like
Yeah.
not worried about it. There's no reaction from him, which is cool.
He like looks like interested. He's like,
Yeah,
huh.
Yeah.
Like that's like his whole vibe. What's this?
yeah.
I'm new here.
So then Mark is on the floor dying, and Anna
Yeah.
takes his gun and she shoots herself in the back. It's like, Anna, there was a
Weirdest
better
place to
way.
kill yourself. What?
What are you doing? Why is every choice you make weird?
Yeah.
Then to upstage her for one final time, Mark, who's been shot about 80,000 times at this point, is like, no, this isn't enough to kill me. I'm Mark the spy. So he
Yeah.
throws himself
Yes.
of the top, and he just falls all the way down, which is very funny because this is the only time you see the budget because it shows him fall and it just cuts to him on the floor, and the cop's like,
Yeah. That's him. That's our Mark.
yeah. So then,
And there's like a voice that says like, "How you want to end this?" before he jumps, which I guess is like the voice of the doppelganger or something, like getting into his mind, maybe.
that would make sense.
Yeah.
I thought it was his like internal monologue or something, but that makes more sense what you said.
Yeah.
So then we come back to Doppelganger, and he's like, he runs into this girl, and he's like, "Oh, here's a gun. You should shoot the cops when they come." And she's like, "Yes, sir." And so that's when we know
Right.
that he can fully now just control people, which again is like, that's why I think it was maybe progressing as he was gaining more sentience and
Totally.
form.
Yeah.
And then also like it's so funny because he's like, she's standing in front of a door she just came out of, and he's like, "Here's a gun, shoot the cops," and then he walks over her to get on the roof to escape. It's like there's a door.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love his escape route.
Yeah, he's figuring stuff out.
What?
It's
Also,
like
guns don't hurt you. What are you scared of?
He just walks up her like she's a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
Like, so
And he's
funny.
like, "Don't forget." It's like you're rubbing
Yeah.
it in at this point.
He kind of moves like what's the end of that movie with Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaac, where it's like the
Which
creep.
one?
Oh, isn't that
Oh man,
William? It's Your Fair One by Garland.
Oh, Annihilation.
Annihilate. Yeah, it's like
Totally.
he's
yeah,
like
yeah,
figuring out how like being a person works. He's like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah, for sure.
you know,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah,
it's
no, I
very,
think
totally.
so.
very reminiscent of that. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And so then
Good call.
then we come back to Helen. She's at the house taking care of the kid. She's bathing him. It's like, how many baths does this kid need?
I know this kid's in the water like the whole movie. Like that's the first time you see him. He's taking a bath. Helen gives him a bath and then another bath.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he jumps into the water, but there's already water in the tub.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was
Like
getting
that all
ready.
And so then the new Mark shows up at the door, and he's like, "Don't answer it,
Yeah.
don't answer it," and we'll stop there as to what happens. But it's an interesting ending.
I actually think
Very
this
creepy.
ending is part of the reason it was banned, because I think like showing that kind of thing is people don't like it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we got to
For
spoil
sure.
it just because I do want to talk about it. So then she's outside, and the boy's like, "Don't answer the door, don't answer the door," and she's like, "What? Who cares?" She goes to answer the door, and also
But
Sam
he's
Neill,
standing there.
he's standing there like this,
Dude,
like
it's so scary.
it's like, bro,
It's
you're
like
not
kind of
supposed
goofy,
to
but
look.
it's freaky.
Why
Yeah.
be a doppelganger if you're gonna act this evil all the time?
You're not fooling anybody.
Yeah, you're doing a bad job.
Worst spy
He
ever.
doesn't need to. He's fine.
But so then the Bob, who's the son, which we just mentioned his name, he runs to the bathroom and he drowns himself, which I think, yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense why that would be the biggest thing. But I do, and I think that's the only scene where I was like, is this the way we should do this? Because like
Right.
it's hard for a kid to explain to a kid.
How
No,
to
the only time for as
like how
long
to
as
show it.
possible.
Well, I mean, you just kind of see him throw, and then it's like it just cuts away after that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you don't
Yeah,
want
they show it long enough that you know what happened.
you don't want to see child death. That's
Well, and
horrible,
that's a yeah.
you know?
It should have. I would have left it a little bit more ambiguous, but. And then there is ambiguity because we hear sirens and stuff coming. We hear weird explosions in the background, and we see
Yeah,
Helen
you like a whole war happening.
we see Helen like staring at it, and we see Mark in the background, like and the window, and then it just kind of cuts to black. And I think that's the perfect way to kind of end this film. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I got the sense that like he was kind of just having everyone go like sicko mode. Everyone he ran into on the way there, so it's just like chaos in the streets as they're all like
Oh,
just
that's true.
basically just shooting and kill. Yeah, it's like go
Right.
I got it to yeah. In my head, it's like yeah, he's now that he's fully formed, he's kind of unstoppable, and so that's the reaction.
Yeah.
That's like the reaction to that. And I will say so. The director and the writer, Driggs, he wrote this while he was going through a very painful divorce.
No, really?
Yeah.
It's the most
Dog.
movie of all time because
You did a good job.
they're both like it's such a this is how he's like trying to process these things. And there's such this kind of like there's even a scene where it's not so much that Mark wants Anna anymore. It's that he wants things to go back to where they were. And he doesn't understand that for that, like, you can't do that because you can't be, like, and I've talked about this a lot, but you can't be the fun loving couple when you have a kid. Like, now, you're not going to be able to go out every night. Like, you have a little baby, you know?
Right.
And it's this thing
true
where.
responsibility.
Exactly. And I think there is this thing in relationships where people, like, sometimes they're like, oh, but it's not how it used to be. And back 2 years ago, it was so fun. And I think that kind of is driving Mark the whole time. And at no point does he realize like, oh, maybe this is just the new normal. Like maybe I need to work on myself and fix how things are.
Right.
And I think that's why like adding Helen and doing the doppelgangers, it's like now or with Helen, you see this kind of ideal person that he wants, but we don't know anything about her. And she's not really a person, you know, and that's what he wants. And by the end of it, the doppelgangers are that. They're not really people. They don't really care about anything but themselves. Like they're destructive and everything, and they're just there to kind of fill a void. And I think
to distract.
Yeah, and I think
to distract from like building something real.
Oh my god, exactly. And I think it's that.
Yeah.
This is like the most perfect breakup movie of all time.
Yeah, for real.
It won't make you want to be in a relationship, that's for sure.
Well,
You'll be like,
right.
I think it's more so like it kind of teaches you like, oh yeah, you shouldn't be looking for this ideal relationship because that means you're not dating a real person. You're dating a doppelganger. You know, you're dating this image of
like the ecstasy.
Yeah.
Like the drug fueled early stage romance is like what you're really in love with. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think again, like even when Anna's like telling him when she's having sex with the monster, and we were saying that she's saying almost. I think that's interesting because she's like, oh, it's almost what I want you to be. Is this doppelganger yourself? It's not the you know, like, it's not the monster.
It's like it's almost done and it's almost you.
Yeah. And I
for sure.
To me, that's kind of the cementing ideology of this film. They're like, trying to get this person.
And it's kind of like everyone who's like the detective and like the boy, like anyone in like a good, like a healthy relationship or whatever is like viciously murdered. You know, it's like almost like they're like violently rejecting every like avenue where things could go better in like a weird way. I mean, it's like meta stacked on metaphor. You know, it's just very. But I think it like works pretty well as like this descent into madness.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And now that we're here, what do you guys think? Should this movie have been banned?
I don't think so. I mean, I still think Poughkeepsie tape should be banned, but I don't think this one should.
That one's like gross for the sake of gross. But this one feels. Well, I mean, we kind of talked about Poughkeepsie. I think there's.
I almost feel like, but the only reason this one was because like one child death, which isn't like a taboo in horror anymore. It's been like almost the reverse, where now it's like that's crazy, we did it. Or maybe like just the sexuality aspect, because I almost feel like that was almost a banned subject for a long time. Like her sleeping with the creature might have been like the bridge too far, you know,
which is crazy.
It's even funny because there was this week, there was a mandate about that Elio movie, the new Pixar film, and Disney told Pixar like, oh, the mom can't be divorced. You can't say why the dad's not there. And it's funny that like even in 2025, I mean, granted things are regressing in a big way, but that like those type of things are taboo because it's like, how do you know how many parents, like how many children are parents of divorce? Like
of divorce? Why can't they have a movie?
Yeah, and like what's the difference? And I think that's always missing in these kind of talks about like, oh, we need to get rid of DEI or we can't show that type of relationships. Like, well, those people exist, like children of divorce are a huge margin of people. You take away
crazy
from
to
that.
block them out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, oh, go ahead.
Well, what were you gonna say? What were you gonna say about Elio?
Oh no, that was it.
Oh, gotcha. I mean, as far as like it being banned, like also too, I mean, I think that it's like, like historically, like there's always been like problems with like women's sexuality in like cinema, and so my first thoughts on like the monster stuff was like it was kind of like it's like represents like Sam Neill's like fear of her freedom and like how she doesn't really need him, and like he's kind of like the monster is like how you would see like how it feels to think about your wife being with like someone else. Like you see it as like this like disgusting monster, and it's like this horror that's like beyond belief because you just like hate the idea of that so much. And so I feel like it's kind of like it's like all about like women's sexuality and like how they are being like forced into these like relationships, like how Sam Neill wants. And so I don't know, I think that it being like female in that perspective about like, female freedom and female sexuality was probably like also weird for people to like kind of grasp back then. And so I could see them wanting to cut that out. I mean, maybe not like so blatantly, you know what I mean? But like if this was about like a dude that was running around just like fucking people, it wouldn't be as intense. But like even as like someone who, I exist now in 2025, I feel like I'm pretty progressive. I still view this in a, is some like internal biases like sort of like way.
Yeah.
And so it just does seem like a more intense story, it being about like this woman doing this as opposed to like a man doing this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree with you too, especially because like it's not just the fact that we're exploring a woman's kind of sexuality and the miscarriage and all that kind of stuff, but it's the woman is never ashamed of it. She's never like
right, exactly.
She's never looked down upon for it. And I think that's also, I mean, and it's also funny. What I was gonna say is that this movie was banned, but like last year, The Substance, which has a lot of similar themes about, well, it has body horror and it has like a lot of the same like women's expectations in society, not about marriage, but about something else. And that movie was nominated for an Oscar, and so it's like, that's interesting. But that movie was also looked upon as this kind of once in a decade type of film.
Right.
It would be hard to say what the reaction would be to Possession if it was made today. But it's still very relevant, and I think it's still very good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I almost feel it's almost more interesting, like because I do feel like like with The Substance, kind of like it's so female led that like the male characters are like kind of like not there, like they're basically caricatures to like kind of be in the scenes, whereas in this one it almost centers on like Sam Neill as like the would-be protagonist of like of like a thriller reacting to like this, and not like so it's almost like, oh, it's interesting to kind of take that context of like, oh, the star Sam Neill, but as like it's not about him, it's about like her and his reaction to it as like this kind of generically like stoic man, it's
like maybe the jilted partner did push them away. Like maybe that was an actual thing that happened.
And I think another thing we didn't really talk about, but it's it's prevalent throughout the whole film is that a lot of this movie is about how women are viewed. Like, there's a really great scene where she's like on the bus and she's on the subway and she's just surrounded by men and they're just kind of looking at her, and you realize like
Yeah.
Hey, doesn't
how
that man
over,
like steal her banana?
yeah, like how
He just straight up takes it out of her
A,
bag.
a homeless man or something just steals
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
and like eats it. Yeah.
And it just kind of like it really puts you in the shoes of how outnumbered you can be as a woman, you know, like how
Yeah.
just kind
Totally.
of alone you can feel. And I think that's again, that's one of the great things about this film is that perspective.
Yeah, and like there's so many different things that can be like different levels of, like Josh was saying that earlier, like metaphor on metaphor. Like you can, like, there's so many ways to read the film, and like they all work. Like everything is like functioning on like multiple levels of meaning, which is really great. Like this movie was like, I was blown away by how good this movie was. I was like not expecting
You know what? It actually
that at all.
it reminded not to go all in on Alex Garland, who I have mixed feelings about.
Please.
No, Warfare, forget it. But this movie also kind of
unforgettable.
Kind of reminded me a lot of Men, like in a lot of ways.
It did.
Totally, yeah, very similar themes for sure.
And very similar gross body horror suddenly happening type of stuff too, you know.
Men Defenders.
So if you're an Alex Garland's Men fan, watch this.
Yeah, you got to see it. Yeah, there's no way this didn't influence that.
If you're an Alex Garland's Men fan, I'd be very surprised if you haven't seen this movie.
That's true, because how did you find that?
Very specific type of person who likes that stuff.
Right.
Like, if you're a fan of Star Wars, check out A New Hope. Yeah.
It's a good movie. It's become a classic, and I think it deserves all the praise it gets. More than just the subway scene. I mean, the subway scene is one of the highlights of the film, but there's so much more to it, and it's very smart. It's a really good film. And now, before we leave, I was going to do this at the beginning, but I forgot because of these commercials that you guys love so much.
Oh my god!
But this week, when we're recording this a week early, so we'll get it in 2 weeks. But this week, Michael Madsen passed away. Another great character actor.
Right.
I forgot to tell the guys, so we'll just do this off the cuff. But he's one of those actors who's in a million movies. Of course, like the day I heard he passed, I saw Reservoir Dogs, which was kind of his breakout film. And it's kind of funny because it's hard to talk about Michael Madsen without talking about Quentin Tarantino, because like Michael Madsen was one of those actors who he would show up in a lot of things, but never as the star, like always as the kind of background character, like one of the thugs and stuff. And it was really Reservoir Dogs and Tarantino who kind of put him into the mainstream. And I think one of his best roles, other than Mr. Blonde, is Bill's brother in Kill Bill. Like,
I was gonna say that's my favorite one of his for sure, especially in Volume 2.
Yeah,
I guess it's like most of the scenes happen.
I watched that. I watched all his scenes more. I think I've seen his scenes more than I've seen the movies.
That is so good when he works at that terrible strip club and just his boss hates him.
I quote that
and he just has this sick sword in his trailer.
Hat, good.
Yeah.
Or my favorite part is when they're like, oh, do you have your sword? Bill's talking to him. He's like, do you have your sword, your famous sword we all have? And Buck is like, no, our name's not Buck. His character is like,
Bud.
Yeah. Bud is like, I sold it. And he's like, oh, it was priceless. And he's like, not in El Paso. In El Paso, bucks. Being from El Paso, I appreciated the call out. And we do have a lot of pawn shops, so it's very true to life. But yeah,
it's a very El Paso series, the two films.
Yeah, no, they're very good.
Yeah,
they feel very El Paso. But he's also in Hateful Eight. Another non-Tarantino movie I really like of his is Species, which we'll eventually cover on this channel.
He actually did a lot of voice actor stuff for like video games and something like Dishonored was probably the big one, and it's good. He was always I
love the Dishonored games.
Yeah. He was like the main villain.
He was also the main villain in Donnie Brasco, the Al Pacino movie.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope if you've reached us this far, go check out some Michael Madsen movies. You know, the big ones. Even check out some of his smaller ones. What's the name of the game? Dishonored. He's
also in he's in Grand Theft Auto 3. He plays the Tony Soprano analog character.
Nice.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Tony Cipriani, very.
Yeah. That just got re-released on the PlayStation Plus.
Yeah,
Like,
they just did the remaster and stuff. So yeah, play Grand Theft Auto and enjoy him as Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things about him is he does have that voice that kind of like, it's almost Californian, but it's like a very like laid back, like he's not bothered by anything. Where
he's chill but strong.
Yeah, like you just killed that guy.
Yeah.
Well, he was in my way, like
don't worry about it.
If you've ever lived in California, it's like the guy who's like wearing a puka shell necklace, but also he's like killed 3 people. That's like kind of how it feels.
But he'll watch your dog if you have to go inside the store for a second.
He lives in the desert and just shoots guns, yeah.
But no, Michael Madsen, rest in peace. Go check out some of his movies. Great actor. Hopefully we don't have to do this so often.
I know.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for week 2 of the Band Squad.
Ban me.
I don't know what we're gonna do next week, but I know it'll be banned. But
yeah.
Join us. Check it out. Go watch Reservoir Dogs. Go watch Possession. Get Shudder. We'll see you guys next week on the Bomb Squad.
It's the guns.
Yeah. Guns are good.